Rooted in resilience, inspired by nature, powered by movement. The podcasts where healing meets empowerment. Let's rise and thrive together. And now, here are your hosts, Scott and Melissa.
Hey, everybody. We just wanted to pop in and let you know about our Sedona Soul Retreat coming up in June of 2026, June 2nd through the 6th in Sedona, Arizona. Where we're going to have it at?
The Briar Patch.
It's
Beautiful. It's just this amazing little nugget.
Yeah.
In Sedona, where you think the big red rocks, which you'll see those, of course, but then there's this little sanctuary of green. And one of my dear beings that just shared with me this morning that they will be attending, looked it up and was like, "Oh, that's my place."
Yeah.
They just like felt the connection, and it's very spiritual energy there, and we're excited for holding space for all of us to be in that frequency, that vibration.
It's right on Oak Creek, and we were down there just a few weeks ago checking it out to ensure it was the right fit for our folks. And we are excited about this retreat. It's our second retreat, and we're on our way to selling out. So please check it out at Vital Edge Wellness Coaching Wellness Retreats. You'll see it vitalwellnesscoaching.com, Wellness Retreats, and sign up. Bring a friend. There's plenty of room. If you'd like double occupancy, you can come down, and we have private cottages and a lodge setting. So that's it.
It's exciting.
Enjoy the podcast.
Yeah, we'll see you there. I am. Cheers.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Rise and Thrive, a podcast by Vital Edge Wellness Coaching. I'm Scott Sadler. I'm here with Melissa Hedstrom. And today we're going to talk about, we're calling it the pivot moment. And we're going to talk about that moment where you have made decisions that have paid off or maybe not paid off, and the reasons behind that moment. How's that?
Good.
Good. All right. Well, lead us through a mindful moment and we'll get into it.
All right. So wherever you are at, please pause for a moment, and that could be anywhere. So big sigh when you're ready. If you're in a place to do so, when that sigh comes out, let your eyes close. And I'm just going to invite you right now, as your eyes closed, or even if they need to remain open, feel in your body where you feel some support right now. And this could be through a physical sense, so underneath your seat or your feet. And just notice that contact. And letting yourself feel that contact gave a little bit more space to breathe. So feel the shoulders drop back, a little lift of the chest. And with that contact intact, let yourself come to sense that inhale and exhale in all directions. And if your mind drifted a little bit, come back to your ground, feeling it underneath your seat or your feet. And let one more nice, slow, deep inhale expand in all directions. And one nice, long, slow exhale descend in all directions. And you're welcome to re-engage when you're ready.
I'm ready.
Good.
Ready to re-engage.
Or take a nap. I was like, either way.
It'd be a boring podcast.
I would be. Join us for nap time.
You might be onto something.
I know. I think an idea was just planted right there.
You can have some nappy music. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. All right.
Grab your hot chocolate and join us with your blankie.
People would probably join. I
Uh-huh.
would. I'd be like, okay. It just gives you an opportunity to be and just pause.
Yeah.
That's kind of why that moment is there.
Yeah.
Just like whatever you're doing, you don't have to do.
Remember in kindergarten, put your head down on your table?
Or get on the little,
Mm,
what were the little exercise mats we had to lay down on?
We didn't have those.
Oh.
You're younger than I am. You were spoiled. I wasn't. We had a hard desk to rest our heads.
Oh, no.
Pivot moments. So today, just see that pivot right there?
Pivoted back to the topic.
In our coaching work, we work with folks who are considering transition, craving transition, looking for some sort of change. And I have always been fascinated with those moments that come when it's actually time to implement that change. And all of the stuff that comes before it and all the stuff that comes with making the decision it's time to pivot. And in my experience, most of us have these long arcs we're on, and something changes in that arc. And it doesn't, whatever it is in the arc, you don't feel quite aligned anymore, or you feel like you need a change, but you're not sure what it is. And that's the beginning of the thinking that comes when it's time for me to make a change, which leads to that pivot, that change to whatever direction you're going to go to next. And this could be based on habits or a career or relationships or even a look, even your own style. It can be attributed to everything. And I think we make a lot of micro pivots we don't really recognize on our day-to-day basis. But I'm just always curious about the psychology of what's behind those moments that suddenly you're like, I'm done with this. I'm ready to go to that now. What are your thoughts?
Well, I was just thinking, you said it right there because my head goes right to the psychology because it's many of you, if you know the whole contemplative stage, and then, then there's that moving closer and closer to action. And for me personally, what comes up is a comment or a statement, a dear friend, I'm not sure who said it originally, is that you'll know when you know. And I appreciated that because oftentimes I think when people are trying to figure out change, or they know something doesn't feel right, or they're seeking help or asking or listening, and you hear a lot of advice often. And so you're getting it from all these directions. And if you're feeling drained or just unsure, that can be overwhelming to the circuits. Who do I listen to? What should I do? This person says this, has a judgment about this. And so when I heard that a long time ago, that has stayed with me. And the other aspect that I've added to that is that when I've come alongside people to help, that is just to help them to take the pressure off, to be like, you're gathering information. Allow yourself to take what time you need to reflect what you need and filter through all the different things coming in and see what resonates for you. And then again, that phrase that I would sum it up with, that whoever said it to me years ago was, you'll know when you know. And I experienced that a couple times in my life.
Yeah.
We're doing all these different things and then something clicked that.
Yeah. I have the advantage of age over many people now, but I think back to my 20s, and I was married once for a year, and I think about how I got into that marriage and why it only lasted a year. And I was not using my intuitive self leading up to that. I thought I was. In fact, I was like, this is right. And when people say, you sure you've only known her and you've only been dating, and I got a little indignant about it. I actually dug in.
Getting too much advice, and then you're like,
I'll prove them wrong, right? But shortly after that, we were not compatible. We should never have been in a relationship. Shortly after that, I realized, my gosh, I didn't pivot. I just went headlong through the wall. I didn't pivot around it. I didn't slow down enough to analyze if I should pivot. I was a crash test dummy and highlighting the dummy part. But the pivot came.
I was going to say, you still had
after
to pivot.
the pain, right? Yeah. After realizing, oh my gosh. And so I had to pivot, and I'm so glad I did, because my life opened up after that. And And I released my partner of the time from having to keep trying. And so pivots can come in all kinds of ways.
Well, I was going to say that's often a common pivot scenario, right? You also hear that phrase, you have to be uncomfortable enough. And I think that happens for a lot of us because change is hard as humans. We like, even talking to a client earlier this morning, it's like after, being on vacation with the family, it's like, I have my ground. I've got to have my routine again because humans like that feels grounded, right? And we often have to be nudged and have gathered enough, like you said, that arc. I think it's that time of you gathering enough information or experiences or confidence or courage because we question ourselves. We've been taught to question ourselves. And that's why, we talk about in our other podcast about learning to build trust with that intuition. I think it's a balance of learning to do that while you're taking in all that information. And you just shared that example of you got all this information and you wanted to push it back. And so it was a painful experience. But I think all of us listening today could probably think of a few painful experiences that got us to
that wasn't even my most painful experience.
Right. But it takes you, I always hear that phrase in my head, you have to be uncomfortable enough. And you'll know when you know it's time. And that was,
And I've always said pain facilitates change, and everyone has a different pain threshold. And the older I get, the less I have threshold for pain. Yes, my pain tolerance is, I make change pretty quickly. I make it pretty decisively. Now, let's talk about when change or pivots are forced upon you, right? I had this great betrayal in 2024, which we'll talk about at some point. Not ready to talk about it in detail yet. Was forced upon me. I was forced to pivot. I was forced to do things quickly and efficiently as I could while navigating a lot of emotional burden. And I did it, and I'm doing it. But sometimes you're forced to pivot. But if you make too quick a decision in that moment and you're thinking with your emotional brain too much, you might have to make a bunch more pivots after that.
Yeah.
So that's where I kind of look at it and go, wow, that's where I lean on my advisors, my coaches. And I talk to you a lot about this, about the nervous system and moving your body. And not that I'm this person, but it would have been very easy for someone with a food addiction or an alcohol addiction or a drug addiction to pour themselves into those things to look for comfort. I don't do that. I tend to want to get out of town, right?
Escapism.
I want to go, let's go to find a beach somewhere, which can be equally as harmful if it becomes a particularly abusive habit. But I think it's important to understand that sometimes pivots are brought to us and we're forced to pivot. And I would advise anyone that is forced to pivot to slow that process down to make sure you're pivoting in the right direction for your highest and greatest good.
Well, I think about some key things you said is, your advisors. It's not that you were going to have the advisors tell you what to do. They were there to support you to reflect and to be that ground while you had time to come in your body, your nervous system, to make that next right action for you.
Yes, and it's for me, it's spiritual, therapeutic. I have a therapist. I've got a couple spiritual advisors, and I've got a life coach. So all different ways of reflecting back to me what I wanted from those three areas, so I could make the right decisions moving forward.
But they were from you. That's what I.
No, they were coaches. They were extracting my own because I couldn't trust my own
because there was a way
because I had too much going on, and so absolutely. When I say advisors, I call them my advisors but the process is pure coaching and pure support.
Which a lot of people, right? They're looking for anything, and so that's why I just wanted to, focus in on that because ultimately, we all have our journeys and our experiences are shaping us and helping us to grow. And even when we think we want them to all be good experiences, but the hard ones usually make us stronger, and we then can look back at a period of time and be able to reflect on what that's brought to us to do that. And I was going to say, I often share too with clients that as far as a physical, your nervous system, your body, and the body will change when it feels good, not when it feels bad. So that's kind of confusing when I just said earlier, like it has to be bad enough. But I think mentally, emotionally, And then knowing that it's bad enough physically that the relief is going to be that your body's going to feel better and more grounded, and the growth that's going to come from that experience will ultimately get you in. And I don't want to say, I'm not trying to say level up, because I don't want to make anybody feel lower, but it does, the frequency shift of
it's not a comparative statement, right? You're leveling up for yourself.
Right. You're evolving
the
frequency and the life you want to create.
Right.
And so I think, the pivot is just supporting anybody out there right now that's feeling all of that, to realize that, I sound so cliche, here it comes, trust the process.
We say that. That's okay.
Yeah, no, I know.
But our listeners are like, oh, they go again.
Well, I said it to a client this morning and we're like, here we go. Yes. But it literally, when you are, like Scott said, doing what is for your greatest and highest good, when you gather the information, when you give yourself that moment to breathe, you have supportive energies around you that are reflecting back to you, supporting that, to give you that space. You'll know when you know, and that next step will be there.
I think it's the willingness to want to know when you know. First, you have to be willing for change.
Mm-hmm.
What is my pivot is a great meditation question. Sitting in silence and just asking that question. Or, I like to say, take your questions for a walk.
Yeah, without trying to answer them.
No, you're not, it's the question you're carrying, not the answer,
you
right?
Sit in the question, yeah.
Yeah, let it come. And to be guided is organic. It's our spirit. It's who we are. Making decisions all the time from here is not who we are. And so there's something magical. The words are too small, I'm saying here, but there's something so much bigger than us when you allow yourself to really understand what your next move should be.
Well, open to that receptivity
from the heart.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know, we talk about Michael Singer a lot, but that is a part of our foundation. Hey, you and my Coke.
What's that? Coke. What do you say at the same time? And then I don't remember.
You and my Coke. That's what it is.
I don't like.
That's what we said. We don't drink it, but pivot time.
Pivot. Well, I was just saying, I was discussing with a client this morning that, we often, when we're in our intellectual mind, we've honed that in for many of us because of our schooling, our professions that we do. And so we try to take that same system function and apply it to everything.
Yes.
Most things. And when it doesn't work, we feel like we're failing. Why? It's working in all these other areas. Why is it not here? And that's where, and again, this is not woo-woo talk. This is us. When you get quiet, right? We all know that. You can't remember a name. And then 4 hours later, middle of the night,
Sharon
pops in. Because that question was setting, and the brain likes questions. So it was setting in there. Your body, your nervous system was calibrating. And there it is.
I see an opening.
It's going to wake her up and tell her. And that's the biggest piece, is coming back to one of our earlier episodes about just trusting that inner wisdom that shows up when you get yourself in nature, when you get quiet, when you do some of those grounding things, breathe. I had a session today with a group and they were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this breathing thing.
Yeah.
How much.
What a game changer.
What a game changer is brought to their life. And someone shared in session today that they couldn't breathe before in their body. And they didn't realize when somebody said, take a deep breath, they didn't know what they couldn't. And now they can. And they're like, and that was not from doing it right or wrong. It was releasing that expectation that they were doing it right or wrong, and to just be with their body. And now they're opening up to I can live life differently. And it's like,
that's a great pivot point.
Yeah. Their life has completely shifted just because breath changed, so it's being open to that receptivity. Like when ideas come, Scott's right now, you have to share maybe.
Yeah, I will. But
a big thing coming, but it's like that.
Before I share, I want to say
opening.
something about what you said, which we talked about yesterday. Actually, we went to an event and we were talking about, we're observing people at this event, and
not in a creepy way.
Well, it depends. I mean, I don't know. They might think we're always in the corner of the table watching, but that doesn't sound creepy at all. But Melissa said, look at everyone in their masks. And it came up again today in another conversation too, a different context. But sometimes not sometimes. We all go through periods of our lives where it's time to take this one off and wear this one now.
Mm-hmm.
But what you said was we're sort of indoctrinated in the way we're supposed to navigate life from an early age based on a lot of different factors. We're based in the United States, and the United States has its own way of doing things, and other countries have their own way of doing things. We're going along in the systems that have been created. And so sometimes those are not reconciling with our own inner systems. I talked with a coach today based out of the UK who talked about growing up in an engineer family. And he was expected to go to school to do engineering of some sort. And he got into school and he said, I don't want to do this. And he quit his fourth year, started going into business, learned he really didn't want to do business either, and ended up becoming an artist. And now he's come full circle. He's now a coach and is using some of those business skills. However, he was not following his intuitive self when he was expected to. We've all had this experience in some way, shape, or form in our lives.
Oh, yeah.
But the extremes can happen one way or the other. You can either go all in as an engineer, be miserable your whole life to get to retirement, to love to do what you want to do eventually, or you can take off the mask early and upset a bunch of people and take risks that may not pan out, but it fulfills your desire to live true to who you feel like you're being. And then there's the rest of us who are peeling masks off every few years to do something different because that's their nature. And I love that process, but it's hard sometimes. Those pivots don't come necessarily easily. So,
yeah.
I
think about the people when I was saying masks and looking around, it's like you could just see, I read a lot of body language and just intuitively like picking up on people holding their stature and stuff like that. It's like that discomfort. And, I'm curious about desiring in my own way of life to not wear those masks and to be in a place of authenticity. And again, not judging them. It was a professional event and people, but I just have to smile on the inside because I'm like, I want to know that person really, because I could just feel a shift, how they're holding themselves and how they're interacting.
Playing the role. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm just like, and so this was not judgment to them whatsoever. We weren't standing at the table judging.
No.
I just wanted to observe because a passion for me is like, I want to just know that person on the inside. What are they like in their jammies and socks, instead of their and it's just like, I see that you can just see them having relief at the end of the day, like when they go home because they can take off that mask, flip off the high heels or whatever.
That's what I do at the end of my day.
Yeah. But so anyways, it's that just curious about, and nothing against like the engineer, if that's what he wanted to do. And that was, you see like, who was it that you were telling me the other day, the basketball player and the son?
Oh yeah. LeBron.
Okay. So you think about,
Bronny.
His son probably wants to do that.
Yeah.
And so that's cool.
Passion.
It's in his genes, right? His DNA. And so for some that is, but it's interesting to think if we're all sit here and reflect about different pivot times in our lives. It's interesting.
And we hope you are.
Yeah,
that was the whole point of the podcast today.
Well, and then just give yourself some grace and some high fives that you have pivoted. You've changed some things. And if you're on the brink of, thinking about it again or feeling that angst of something pulling you, listen to it, sit with it, reach out for support if you need. It's what I and you do every day, holding space for people to really connect with that deeper layer that often has gotten covered up by how we think we should be or what we should be doing, or, well, I got all these responsibilities, so I can't even think about that. I love to help people peel that out and realize that they can do the things that they authentically want and create it because they're in the driver's seat of their lives and it's happening right now. And it's the conditioning that's told us that you can't and you've got too much to do. This is what you should be doing. So you can't even dream.
Yeah.
And I want to help people sit with that and start to realize that I could change those words. I can change that tone. And that starts to shift and prepare you for when your pivot is ready to happen.
One pivot leads to another. Our whole life's about pivoting.
Had a lot of pivots.
Yeah, it is a pivot world. Okay, so we have a couple things, announcements. We have our retreat in June,
Yes.
and it
It's
has
coming
a
up
couple of
fast.
spaces left, only a couple. We're almost sold out. Contact us directly because we need to contact the resort when people want to sign up now. June 2nd through 6th in Sedona, Arizona. We'll continue to talk about pivots there a little bit in all kinds of different areas of our lives. It is shaping up to be an amazing time. We've been very excited about it. I have a new announcement. I've just launched a new product called Elevate Under Pressure. This is focused on executive leaders, senior leaders, and founders and entrepreneurs, and it's helping them really increase their performance under pressure and what happens to them when they're under pressure and how to navigate that and self-recognition of when you feel the pressure coming on. Because leaders need to thrive in pressure situations and not feel the weight of the pressure itself. So you can look me up there at elevateunderpressure.com and check that out. And
Congratulations on that.
thank you. It just launched today. Today is April 1st, the day we're recording this, and it just went live today. Been working on it a long time. I've got a book coming out in May, and Melissa and I are still plodding along in our own businesses. So
Yes.
Vital Edge Wellness Coaching is our support group business for us. And so if you want to learn more, optimalliving.net. Optimal living.
What?
I can't, tell me your URL.
Optimal Living Salem.
ScottSadlerCoaching.com, ElevateUnderPressure.com. That's our core businesses, and we do this together. Join us for a retreat at Vital Edge. Check us out at our other businesses. Like, share with your friends, comment, call us if you need anything. We want to help you with your pivots. That's what we do in neutral, outside. Reflection board is very beneficial to helping you through these pivots. So we're here for you if you need us. We'll see you next time on Rise and Thrive. Don't forget to take care of each other, and especially don't forget to take care of yourself. See you next time.
Namaste.
Thanks for tuning in to Rise and Thrive, a podcast by Vital Edge Wellness Coaching. If you found this episode meaningful, please rate, review, and share it with someone who might need it. For upcoming retreats and to join the Vital Edge Wellness community, head to vitaledgewellnesscoaching.com. Let's rise and thrive together.